Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gautama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee Krap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and we're in part 3 of a 4-part series where I'm teaching students and helping you to build up your breathing mindfulness meditation practice. Today's class, I'm just going to do meditation with you guys and open up to any questions that you guys have, where in the first part, I actually taught you meditation and then we did it together. Then last Wednesday, I actually did meditation with you and then opened up to questions. I'm going to do the same thing today, where I'm just going to do meditation like we normally do and then open up to any questions. And what I'm doing here is I'm gradually expanding the amount of time that we're meditating so that you get used to meditating longer and longer periods of time. This is helping you to build up your practice. And if you're doing work outside of class where you're actually meditating at home, this is going to help you to build up your practice so you have a long-term sustainable practice. So welcome to all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. If you like to meditate together, you can take the position of seated, lying, or standing. These tend to work really well with online learning. There is a walking position that I teach, which you can find a video for that on our YouTube channel. That's really helpful if you have an overactive mind or if you're falling asleep during meditation. So I'm going to start with the chanting and kind of ease us into meditation with that, which you guys are welcome to join along in. Then I'm going to come in with the guidance. Then there'll be a period of time where it'll just be quiet and we're meditating together. Then we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakato rokavitu Anutero purisa Dhamma สติสัตตาตาวะมนุสนังโพโตภาควาติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in naturally through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาโพตังมหาควันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาควตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาควโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสคาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามะสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the rest of our time is just open up to any and all questions that you guys have, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. You're welcome to ask any and all questions that you like about whether it's meditation or any other aspect of your practice. You're welcome to ask any and all questions. You can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any and all questions that you like. So just let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, looks like Leo has some questions. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, David. My question. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Oh, okay. First question, just a random question. In your teachings, I hear that, or in the Buddhist teaching, I hear that that the human laws are imperfect, right? Would you say the natural laws of karma are perfect? Or?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then I have a question. What I just realized while I was meditating, that the last days I have a lot of thoughts again. So often really rare. It's really rare that I'm concentrated on the breath, the sound of the breath. Do you know why it is like that? Is it because new old thoughts or old sensations come up, and my mind needs to uproot them? Or why I have so much? Why I'm so much distracted from the breath? Because I'm doing it now for a few months, and it's like I don't see grow right now. So maybe it's just right now, and next week it's different. But yeah, maybe you have some words about that. Is it because of old memories or whatever which come up?
Sure. So your meditation practice is impermanent. You're not going to be able to get to complete peace in your meditation and quietness of mind until the mind's actually enlightened. Even in the first, second, and third stage of enlightenment, your mind's going to be having random thoughts. The random thoughts aren't the problem. The problem is that if you can't notice them and you can't cut them off and let them go and bring the mind back, that's what you need to be able to develop more and more. And your meditation practice is impermanent. It's going to go through periods of time where things will be quite still and quite calm in your mind, and that can last for several weeks. And then just all of a sudden, out of the blue, boom, your mind during meditation can be pretty active and have lots of thoughts going on in your mind, and that can go on for several weeks too. I mean, 5, 6, even 8 weeks, and then boom, all of a sudden, your mind's quiet again during meditation. So it's important that you don't have any expectation of your meditation being any particular way, and just understand whether your mind's quiet and still or whether it's quite active. All meditation is beneficial. Oftentimes we think that our meditation practice is going to go like this, and our path to enlightenment is just going to go a linear path on the way up. And it's just going to go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. But that's not the way that your practice is going to go. It's going to take a lot of twists and turns on your way to enlightenment. You're going to have plenty of missteps and things like this. So because the mind lacks discipline, it lacks training, and your mind is not fully trained, you're going to notice that it's going to do this from time to time, that you're going to have impermanence. So all you got to do is just get rid of any expectation that your meditation should be any particular way by any particular time. And now just stay dedicated to your meditation and just keep doing it. And over time, you'll accumulate more and more benefits, more and more discipline, and your mind will become more and more peaceful. But even still, as I mentioned, in the first, second, and even third stage of enlightenment, your mind's not going to be completely peaceful all the time during meditation, because it's still got pollution, it's still got defilement, and it's not yet 100% trained.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. All right.
All right, so it looks like Ted and or Kristen has a question.
Good evening. I don't know if this is a question, a statement, an observation, but it seems I completely understand some days are better than others. Some moments are better than others. Some with thoughts, some with just breath. And I think for a long time, the just breath, quote unquote, seems as though there's still a little bit of thought into it. But what I've been experiencing lately is it just seems more like an experience during that moment, and not even any thought of just focusing on the breath. And I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm going in the wrong direction with that, but it's really pleasant to have that freedom. So it's almost like just focusing on the breath plus one on the place where it takes me. So I don't know, maybe that's just an observation that I'm talking about this today.
Yeah, the mind can get to really high degrees of peace during the meditation and high degrees of stillness. And as you're practicing, you're going to notice that there's going to be these ups and downturns, like what Leo's is talking about here, is that he's noticing that his mind's more busy than normal. So when you're experiencing that stillness of mind, that quietness of mind, that peacefulness in meditation, just be sure to keep sitting with the breath, and don't ever expect that to be permanent. It will be permanent when you get to enlightenment. But what I think Leo is maybe experiencing, because you sound a little bit worked up there, Leo. I know you sound a little bit anxious. I don't know if you are, but it sounds like you're a little bit anxious there. If you have an expectation that your meditation will be any particular way, when it's not that way, the mind will get discontent. So even though in certain periods it can be several weeks where your mind's quite peaceful and quite still and quite calm, be prepared, because the mind isn't enlightened yet. So it will end up getting to a point where it's shaken up for one reason or another. So as long as an individual just stays consistent with their meditation over the long term, things will consistently get better. But you'll have periods of up and down in your meditation. And this is why it's important not to judge any meditation as being good or bad, because you get trapped into this where, oh, that was a bad meditation. And then it becomes demotivating. Whereas if you think about all meditation as being helpful and beneficial, because if you come out of meditation, it's like, wow, my mind is really busy today. That's a really beneficial meditation, because now you know that the mind's busy, and if you have any big impactful decisions, you probably will delay those. Whereas if you come out of meditation, you're like, wow, the mind's like quite still today. Excellent, right? So instead of us forming any feelings based on how our meditation goes, instead just look at the meditation as it is what it is. If the mind was still, fine. If the mind was more active, that's fine too. So if we get caught in the trap of forming feelings based on how our meditation goes, that's still a conditioned feeling, and the mind needs to be able to let that go and just see meditation for what it is. It's like going to the gym. Some days you're going to be able to lift 50 pounds, other days you're only going to be able to lift 20. Right? Or 25 or 30. And it doesn't mean that it was a bad session in the gym. It's just that the body wasn't able to lift as much that day for whatever reason. So it's the same kind of thing with the mind. Okay, let me see if we have any other questions anywhere. Looks like a bunch of questions. Okay, Fiona, it looks like yours were first. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
My question is about single mindfulness and how much focus you should put on what you're doing. For instance, if I was drinking a cup of tea, would I be focusing completely on drinking the tea, or could I let my mind wander? And is that a problem, or would I need to cut that off if my mind was wandering?
Yeah, you're never interested in allowing the mind to just wander like that. It's kind of like a wild animal frolicking in the forest, and it doesn't want to be tamed. You would like to, this person would like to always be able to have discipline and control over the mind, and not allow the mind to just be this wild animal and do its own thing. So wherever you see your mind wandering like that, you would like to cut it off and let it go. So if you're drinking a cup of tea, just focus on drinking the cup of tea. Now you're done with your sip of tea, you put that down, and now you have your conversation, or you're talking with somebody, or you're looking at the view, or whatever it is. You just do that thing. And now 2 or 3 minutes later, you'd like another sip of tea. Boom, you focus on the sip of tea. And that way your mind is just single-threaded, just doing one thing at a time, which that's all it can do anyway, but you're bringing your full attention to any particular thing that you're doing.
Thank you. Could I ask another question?
Sure.
It was, oh, no, my mind's gone blank. I'll come back to you. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Just raise your hand again whenever you're ready to ask a question.
Oh, no, I remember now. Sorry about that. It's my anxiety kicks in. With regards to bodily sensations, for instance, with anxiety, noticing them before the anxiety hits, which I get anxiety a lot. I'm just really shy, and I've got it now. Are there specific bodily sensations for different types of things? I mean, once I've got anxiety, I get chest pains and palpitations and things like that. But to nip it in the bud before it gets to that stage, what sort of bodily sensations would occur, for instance, with anxiety?
Yeah, there are specific bodily sensations with each individual feeling, and it's going to be unique to each individual. So what one person experiences is different than somebody else. And that's part of what you're doing on this journey, is by developing your mindfulness so well that you're aware of these bodily sensations. You're going to start noticing that every time the mind gets anxiety, just before that, I get tightening in the chest and heart palpitations. And that's what you experience. But somebody else with anxiety could experience something different, but they'll get tuned into that more and more. But regardless, when you notice any of those bodily sensations, whether it's associated with anxiety or shyness or anything, you would like to cut those off and let those go. And that's what's going to help you to gain more and more discipline of the mind. And more, you're going to be able to take note of and be aware of exactly what bodily sensations lead to exactly what feeling. And when you're able to cut it off and let it go as a bodily sensation, you're going to know, like, wow, I just saved myself a bunch of anger, or wow, I just saved myself a bunch of shyness, or I just saved myself a bunch of frustration. You're going to know because your mindfulness will be that well tuned in, and you'll get so good at just recognizing those and cutting them off and letting them go. So the fact that you're observing them and noticing them now is wonderful, but you would just like to get better and better at spotting them sooner and cutting them off easier and easier. And that's what your meditation practice is doing for you, your generosity, and all these other practices that you're learning. Okay, so, do you have something else, Fiona?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. That was really helpful.
Oh, sure. You're welcome. Pleased to help you. Okay, so it looks like Leo has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just to the talk you just had. In my case, when sensations come up, I lost it. Okay, I take another one. Another question. Yeah, about the question, first question of Fiona. Actually, it's I think you said once, for example, also the example with chewing, like when we're eating, we're chewing, and yeah, when we are ready with chewing, then we talk with someone, and then our focus on the talking. What is if we're chewing and someone is asking us something, speaking to us, then our concentration needs to be either at the chewing or the speaking from that person. What is in this situation?
Yeah, the body can do one thing while the mind is doing something else. So the mind can focus on a conversation while the body is chewing. It's kind of like I can take one hand and rub the top of my head, and I can take the other hand and rub the belly. And I can do these two things with the hands, but I'm focused on talking to you right now. I'm not going to lose any concentration whatsoever, even though my hand is rubbing the top of my head and it's rubbing my belly. That I can fully focus my mind on this conversation without having to attend to anything with the hands that's going on the top of my head or my belly. The body can be doing one thing or even two things like this while the mind is focusing on conversation. So in this situation, if you're chewing, the body is chewing, but the mind is focused on the conversation. But in the situation where you're sipping a cup of tea, I recommend people to focus on the cup of tea, because if you don't focus on that, there's the potential that it falls in your lap or you miss your mouth or something like that. So that's what I would suggest somebody to focus on, is focus on sipping the tea. And now when you're sipping the tea, your mind is focused on sipping the tea. And if somebody's happy to talk to you, you can just focus on sipping the tea, right? And that's where the body is now, okay, I can focus on that. And now if somebody's talking to you, you can now switch from, okay, this bodily action to now I'm listening to somebody talking to me. You could do that, but the more single threaded that you do this, the better. And just understand that the body can do one thing while the mind is doing something else. And that is the mind doing just one thing at a time.
Okay, so it's better to just chew or just listen, but if it's not possible because this person talking and you're in the process of chewing, then you can train yourself to just focus on the listening. Yeah, of course. Okay.
Yeah, I can chew food. The body can chew food while the mind's listening to somebody talk.
Yeah.
Right? Because the body doesn't need the mind to pay attention to the chewing. The mind can pay attention to the conversation while the body is attending to the chewing.
Yeah. Okay, it's just, in every situation I have to look at it, right? Because you said with a cup of tea, maybe it's a thought and so on. The same today, I was walking on the street and I was eating something while walking. And then I thought, okay, singleness of mind, maybe you just stop here and eat it. But there was nothing dangerous in walking and eating at the same time. So yeah, I could also do that, right? I could walk, maybe slowly, and eat a bit, and have the attention of either eating or either walking.
I don't usually tend to like to do that. When I'm walking, I'm usually focused on walking. Unless I'm in a conversation, I can be walking and talking at the same time, but my eyes are looking, at the ground or whatever is in front of me. But I wouldn't normally eat and walk at the same time. It's the same thing like I wouldn't look at the phone and walk at the same time. These things can be overwhelming for the mind and distracting to the mind.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I have another question about. First of all, I wanted to say that that in the last days I also sometimes have sensations on the face area. It seems for me difficult to cut them off. Yeah, so I'm a bit curious about what kind of sensations these are. They don't feel like, oh, so nice. They're a bit like, I feel a bit like exciting, something like this.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's difficult to cut them off. So I'm wondering if it's between unconditional and conditional. Or
Yeah, just keep paying attention to it and see what it is. I can't tell you just from what you're telling me now. It could be bodily sensations associated with conditional pleasant feelings. So keep working at it and see if they're conditional. You should be able to cut them off. Sometimes you can notice bodily sensations of conditional feelings and the mind just isn't disciplined enough to cut it off. So you got to look to see, is there any feeling that's coming into the mind after it? So if there's a bodily sensation, within, a few seconds, there's going to be a feeling that comes after it. If this is a bodily sensation associated with conditioned feelings, there's going to be some feeling that comes right after it. If you're noticing bodily sensations and there's no feeling that comes after it, then it's not associated with discontentedness or conditioned feelings.
Okay, or the feeling is already there, and the bodily sensation is still next to the feeling. Could it be also that? And because the feeling is strong and more difficult to cut off, the sensation is also longer and takes, or is there for a while because of the feeling also.
Yeah, that can occur too. And in that situation, the mindfulness isn't developed enough to be able to catch it as a bodily sensation. And the mind's not able to let it go easy enough prior to it becoming a feeling. So this is like the transitionary period that you can see the mind transitioning through, is that you're noticing the bodily sensation after the feeling has already been created in the mind. And you would like to back that up a bit, that you can notice the bodily sensation long before the feeling, and you can cut it off and let it go long before the feeling. When I say long before, I mean a couple of seconds, right? So that's what you would like to be able to get to, but the mind is not quite there yet. So that's why you just keep practicing. You keep developing your breathing mindfulness meditation, your generosity. You keep practicing your mindfulness in daily life, your singleness of mind, all the factors of the Eightfold Path. You just keep accumulating these benefits more and more and more and cleaning up the mind. And the mind's going to sometimes not do what you would like it to do. This is one of the challenges, is that intellectually, you'll understand, like, this is what I should be doing in this situation, because you'll know the teachings well enough that intellectually you'll know what you should be doing, but the mind just won't do it. And this is where you know that your intellectual wisdom is to a certain level, but you haven't been able to practice enough to accumulate enough benefits yet to actually accomplish inside the mind what it is that you need to accomplish. So you just need to put some more practice together, many weeks and many months, to develop the mind so that your intellectual understanding of the teachings is right there along with your actual practice and being able to do it. So the intellectual understanding will come first, and then the mind won't be able to quite do what it is you would like it to do, and you just got to keep staying persistent with it, and eventually your practice will accumulate enough benefits where you can actually do what you intellectually know that you need to do.
Okay. And what kind of unconditional feelings could be in the mind? For example, if no anger is coming afterwards, what kind of unconditional feelings I can experience? Maybe that you could help me with that, so I can more understand. Hey, is it maybe unconditional? Yeah.
There's no such thing as an unconditioned feeling. Any kind of feelings, they're always going to be conditional. What you experience, what you experience is unconditional mental states. Those mental states will start to shine through more and more and more. You'll start noticing cheerfulness, brightness, radiance, peacefulness, calmness, serenity. You'll notice joy coming through. You'll notice equanimity and mindfulness, loving kindness and compassion. You'll notice all these different mental qualities that I talk about start shining through the mind more and more and more. But those are unconditioned. They're either going to be on or they're going to be off. And eventually, once the mind's enlightened, they'll just always be on. But on your way to enlightenment, they'll just either be on or off. You won't notice an arising, a changing, and a fading away. They'll just either be on or off.
So, okay, I wanted to say sensations. So there are positive sensations, like you said, joy, loving kindness. So they are not negative, right? They are not like anxiety or like this feeling of yeah.
What I was just talking about were unconditioned mental qualities. So you have conditional feelings, which are pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant. These are the three types of conditional feelings. And prior to any of those conditional feelings, you're going to have bodily sensations. And the bodily sensations that you have are going to be unique to you. I can talk about some of the ones that I experienced, but they're going to be unique to you. Like I was telling Fiona that, I used to get the tightening of the chest and the heart palpitations around anxiety and sometimes fear as well. I would get some of that kind of stuff. But even sometimes with anger, I could get some of those things, and frustration as well. So you're going to need to tune in, and that's your mindfulness. Tuning in with your awareness of mind to figure out what are these bodily sensations that are occurring and what are the feelings that are coming after it. But more and more, you would like to be able to catch it at the bodily sensations and cut it off and let it go there.
Okay. But unconditional sensations, does this exist, or is it?
No. If there's going to be a bodily sensation, there's a cause and effect that's led to it.
Okay, because I talked about sensations in the face, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, this is something conditioned. So I thought that there are sensations in the face, and I cannot cut them off. I try to cut them off, but I cannot do it. This is a conditioned sensation, right? Of course, because there are no unconditioned sensations.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
What could be happening is as you're purifying your mind and you're training your mind, this is the intangible, non-physical mind, right? It has an effect to the brain, and the physical structures of the brain are actually changing. It's like rewiring your mind. And when these kinds of things are happening, you can start noticing sensations like all throughout the body in different ways. It's pretty amazing how powerful the mind and the brain and the body really is. So there is a cause that's leading to it, which is the cleaning up of the mind, which is changing the brain, which now that's producing these bodily sensations. But you're not going to be able to cut that off because it's not based on a craving, desire, attachment. That's the bodily sensations that are arising prior to discontentedness, is it's based on a craving, desire, attachment. If there's bodily sensations associated with training the mind, the physical brain is changing, and now you're getting these bodily sensations from that, you're not going to be able to cut that off because that's something that's going on inside the brain.
Okay, but should I still try to cut them off? Of course, right? Because
it
could be a conditioned feeling, conditioned sensation.
Right. You would always like to try to cut these things off because early on you're not going to know exactly what it is, and this is how you become more wise about what that actually is you keep cutting it off and trying to cut it off, and you just can't cut it off. And now in another situation where you have bodily sensations associated with craving and you are able to cut that off, and you can see like, whoa, the mind can cut off bodily sensations. So these other sensations that I'm experiencing that I can't cut off, this is not based on craving, desire, attachment. And that's where you can see that these things are different. And this is helping you to see the wisdom behind what's actually truly going on. But there is a cause and effect here. It's just that there's those bodily sensations that are associated with craving, desire, attachment. There's bodily sensations associated with just pain in the body, and there's bodily sensations associated with the brain that's changing, the physical structures of the brain. So the ones that you can cut off and let go of are the ones based in craving, desire, attachment. But if your mindfulness isn't really well developed and your ability to let go isn't really well developed, you could have bodily sensations associated with craving, desire, attachment that you can't cut off. But then you're going to notice right afterwards, there's going to be a feeling. These other bodily sensations associated with like pain in the body or bodily sensations associated with the brain changing, you won't be able to cut those off, and there's not going to be a feeling afterwards. There won't be any feeling that comes into the mind, and you'll be able to see like, this isn't based in craving, desire, attachment.
Okay. I will observe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, looks like Yusuf, you have a question. Go ahead, sir.
So today I was walking to the college. I was away from college and I was walking peacefully and calmly. As soon as I was near college, my heart started boom, 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 and the body started heating up. And as soon as I entered the college, I was like feeling a little blank, that it is hard maybe to see a little bit or something. Yeah, it is because of how much cravings the mind have. But I am here talking about one certain craving, which is having a perception that people are looking at me, people are thinking of me, and they are judging me or something. This happens not only in college, it happens in college in a maximum way, but out of college it does happen too. So is there any way, any situation I can put my mind in to start to decrease this? Because it is too hard for me to cut off. So is there any way that I can decrease it gradually instead of me facing it all at once, maybe in college or something?
Yeah, what you need to do, Yusuf, is you need to understand the Eightfold Path, because right now your mind doesn't understand the Eightfold Path and you haven't been practicing it consistently enough to be able to have the training that you need to cut it off. There's no shortcuts on the path to enlightenment. You're going to need to know the Eightfold Path inside and out, backwards and forwards. And until you understand that and you're actually practicing that consistently, it's going to be hard for you to do these kinds of things. So I've been encouraging you over multiple months to study and learn the Eightfold Path, but you haven't taken the opportunity to do that yet. And it's not until you do that and you practice it that you're going to really be able to notice some real improvement with these kinds of situations.
Okay, great answer. It is harder for me to cut things off the mind in public, but maybe in home, in my room, it's easily. Is it because my maybe meditation isn't developed, or because of how much cravings I still have, or what's the reason?
Yeah, the mind's not fully developed. You if you don't know the Eightfold Path, that means you're not practicing the Eightfold Path. And if you're not practicing the Eightfold Path, then you're not going to be able to do the things that I'm talking about. So that's why you've got to back all the way up to the intellectual understanding of the Eightfold Path. You haven't studied it yet to the point that you know it really well. And you're not going to be able to practice it if you don't know it intellectually. You're expecting that you should be able to practice it in public and at home. But if you don't even know it intellectually, you wouldn't be able to actually practice it.
Okay. Once you mentioned that I need to maybe walk away from some friends, because if I was near them, my mind is going to experience the same discontentedness over and over and over again. So whenever I go with a friend, any type of friend, those days, any type of friend, whenever I go with them, the mind experiences the same discontentedness over and over. It has been happening for me for like a long time. Should I distance myself from all friends, or maybe I should let them go instead of just distancing myself from friends? What do you think is better?
It's essentially the same thing. That oftentimes what some people do when they're first approaching the path to enlightenment is they realize that they've made some unwise decisions in the past, maybe a lot of unwise decisions in the past, and you kind of like shrink down your life to just a very limited number of people. And this actually gives you a lot of time to work on your own mind. And now you do that for an extended period of time, and then you kind of expand back out and you start rebuilding your life, but you rebuild your life based on these teachings. So all the different conversations we've ever had about the friends that you've had, it seems like what would be best for you is to really, what you're describing is distance yourself from these people, or just let go and like walk away and just spend time developing your practice. Because as long as you're out there in the world with a lack of wisdom of these teachings and you're interacting with people, you're having contact with people, you're going to be producing unwholesome karma. And the more unwholesome karma that you're producing, the more you're going to have to clean up later. So it's better to just walk away, let go, bring your life down to maybe like your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters. I don't know everybody who's in your life, but just kind of a small number of people that you spend time with, maybe like one or two like really good friends that are close. And now you just work on your own mind and you have less contact with other people, because as you have more and more contact with other people, you're just creating unwholesome karma. So if you can bring down your contact to a minimum, extended training of your mind, then you'll be able to expand back out and make wonderful friends and wonderful relationships, and you'll be better at making those choices because you have more wisdom to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, it looks like Leo has some more questions. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, David. My last question, it's about mindfulness. When I get aware of the bodily sensation, my concentration on whatever it is, maybe some object, is interrupted because my intention swings to the effort or process of cutting off the sensation. My attention is then on the cutting off, right, and not at the object anymore. But you say concentration and mindfulness should exist at the same time. That's how I understood it from you. In my case, it seems that it's whether on the cutting off or on the object I'm focused. Yeah. So how I can understand that?
Are you talking about in meditation or outside of meditation?
Both, actually. Also, let's say in the meditation. Yeah, and let's say in the meditation when sometimes there is this bodily sensation. And then I go away from the breathing mindfulness and I cut off. In my mind, I say like, cut it off, cut it off, cut it off, cut it off. So in this case, they are not not concentration, mindfulness at the same time, right?
Yeah. So say you're focused on the breath, right? And now you've got your awareness of mind and you've got your concentration, you're focused on the breath. Now, as you're focused on the breath, you're noticing that there's this bodily sensation associated with anger starting to arise. So your mind has just moved off the breath, and now it's moved to this bodily sensation that is arising due to anger. Now, when you see that, you cut that off and let that go, cut off that bodily sensation, and now bring the mind back to the breath. So it's focusing back on the object that's going to help redirect the mind to be able to cut off and let go of the bodily sensation and now come back to the mind.
Okay. For example, if I'm reading something and there I see a bodily sensation, because you say guarding the doorways, right? So always when you focus on something, at the same time there's a mindfulness, like scanning, right? But if I'm reading something and then my mindfulness realizes something and I cut it off, is this? It's difficult. Don't know, because then I'm moving away from the object reading or the talking. If I talk with someone and then body sensation, I try to cut that off, and then my attention is not at the person anymore. Or is it like if I come into the jhanas, that I can do both at the same time, like focusing on the talk and my mind is just cutting it off by itself? Or
Okay, so let's just say you're reading something like you say. Whenever there's discontentedness that is arising, it's coming from some contact through the six sense bases. So if you're reading something and you're noticing that there's bodily sensations that are starting to arise associated with craving, desire, attachment, and discontentedness is about to occur in the mind, it's coming through some contact. And at this point, all you're doing is you're sitting there reading. So it could be something that you're reading, or it could just be some thought that's in the mind, some random thought. Those are the only two sense bases that are being used at that particular time. So if it was me, what I would do is I would immediately close the book and get up and walk away. And now you should notice that if what the arising of discontentedness was coming from was the contact from the book, maybe it was something in the story, you should notice that you've just been able to cut that off and let it go because you broke contact with the object that you were taking in contact through the eyes. And now when you get up and go maybe get a glass of water, you go for a walk, you'll notice that the discontentedness is gone. But if the discontentedness isn't gone from closing the book and getting up and walking away, then that means there's some thought that's in your mind that isn't associated with the book itself, that now you need to cut that off and let that go. And still the same thing is redirect the mind, take it somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah. I have a bit difficult to understand having a concentration on something or just doing somethingness of mind. And at the same time, there's this virus scanner, like the mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
These two things together are still difficult for me to see that, to understand that. But yeah.
Okay, so just keep practicing till you get to the point where you can have focus and concentration, but you also have awareness of mind and what's going on in the mind. So you're going to need to practice that a bit more so that you can get to that point where you can have both things. You can have concentration and focus, and you can also have awareness of the mind itself, because that's how you're going to know that the mind is actually focused and concentrated, because your mindfulness is going to help you to be able to see that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, David, for all the information.
Yeah, you're welcome. Pleased to help you guys. I'm going to check Facebook and YouTube and see if we have anything. And I don't see anything on Facebook or YouTube. So I'll just end by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your questions. It's good to help you guys to understand this and really penetrate into some of the details of what it is that you guys have learned and that you're starting to practice. This is really helpful for you to really parse away, these little intricate details like this so that you can see these things for yourself. Because I can teach it to you in a classroom all day long, but it's when you're doing the work in your daily life that you can see the intricacies of the things that I'm talking about and that the Buddha actually taught. So this is really helpful for you guys. Next week on Wednesday, we're going to be in the fourth part of our 4-part series here, where I'll be doing meditation with you guys. And that one will be even closer to 30 minutes. Today was quite long of a meditation. So this was the longest one we've done in the group learning program now. So next week, it'll be a full 30 minutes where we're meditating together. And then I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to any aspect of the path to enlightenment that you'd like to talk about. This Sunday in the group learning program, I'm going to be in part 3 of our 3-part series on the Eightfold Path. We're going to be talking about the mental discipline section. So you guys are welcome to attend that. So again, thank you all for your questions and your interest to learn, and perhaps I'll see you guys in one of these future classes. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time. Sawadee Kap.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.